Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. My name is Matthew and today we're doing another figure comparison. Today we're doing quite possibly the last 2014 figure comparison as far as like the general 6-inch ones are concerned. Because today we're doing pretty much all three of my 6-inch Godzilla 2014 figures. 10 years of the MonsterVerse, so I know it was like last month, but who cares? Of well, pretty much the entirety of it. So we have left to right my original NECA 2014, the reissue, and the Playmate City Destruction. Today we're doing another 7-rounder sculpt and paint articulation, size, accessories, price, availability, and packaging, and pretty much going over the main differences between all of them. And without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the video. First up, we're going to take a look at the heads of all three figures, and as you can tell, the original NECA, my first one at least, has a bit more of a washed out look. It's not as vibrant as the other two are, well, specifically the reissue, and as you can definitely tell, like the eyes are just not as colorful as they are on, say, here, because that's definitely a bit more of a brighter shade of yellow. And the wash on the head is not as apparent as it is on this one. It's certainly not as blue as it is on this one, although, trust me, this guy is very blue. You just have to look under the right light. Although what is pretty done well is the mouth paint is actually done, again, really well. It's got that nice purple, pink, magenta-ish wash that's like all hidden throughout there, and it looks really, really good. I have to commend them for what they've done here. It's certainly, again, really nicely done. My only gripe is that maybe it is because of like over the years I've had it and I've brought it on so many adventures, both outside, like to various scout camps and all that sort of jazz. But like, it's just so chipped as far as the teeth are concerned, because like, there's really not that much white paint on it left. And to be honest, I don't really recall there being like much white paint to begin with. I mean, there is certainly some white paint. You can certainly see it right there. But the teeth are just not as prominent as they should be either. I mean, they are certainly prominent. Versus V2, where you can clearly see that there is some some white teeth, and they actually have a bit of more distinction between the tongue and the gums. In fact, there's like a painted-in membrane in there. And the blue wash is just more apparent throughout the head entirely. And the Playmates simplifies everything by having a blue wash, orange eyes, and a sculpted in tongue that's on the bottom of the jaw, supposed to like hanging out there, and actually has like some white strips for teeth. Not bad in the slightest, but also has like some orange glowing on the chest and the neck, so back of the neck where the spines are. While these ones just more have like blue wash, this one has like a mild tone on the bottom of the neck, where this one has more of a dry brushing effect that kind of leads down into the body. Speaking of the body, we're going to just do this all in like one take here. The main part of the bodies here, that's pretty much a different story, because my original NECA has a bit more of a washed look to it, and it looks really good. I have to commend them for that, because it doesn't look as vibrant, but it looks in the most, well, realistic. This one looks the most unique. Well, in that it has the most dry brushing and the most wash to it. And it overall, in my opinion, has the best execution. Although I will say that the fact that they didn't really paint like the insides of it kind of is a bit of an eyesore, but again, totally fine. Not gonna like dock off points off of it. Although there is some like wash that's like down where it meets the legs, which I do appreciate it as well. And we also get like that same orange spray that's like covering the entirety of the front of the body, where down goes down to the crotch and kind of goes down until it meets the tail. And then you also get like the big sections of orange on the thighs, which I also do appreciate how like outright it looks. The application itself is not bad, and it also kind of comes onto the shoulders, the sides, and it again looks really nice. As for the feet themselves, there's really like not too much to write home about the classic one, the original 2014. It's that it has a different kind of brownish color, and it's not really that noticeable, especially with like the blue wash. versus this one where it still is not as noticeable, but again, this color kind of goes down and then kind of triumphs to the leg, which I again do have to appreciate. While this one has the most inaccurate feet, quote unquote. I mean, they're a lot more chunky than they should be, but again, has like the orange spray that goes down, and also just to talk about sheer like proportions. This guy is chunky. Like, look at how much more chunky he is compared to the NECA. That is some chunky boy. See, Toho. No, not Toho. The Japanese people who watched the 2014 movie should have been calling this guy fat if they only waited 10 more years. But with that being said, another thing I want to point out is the dorsal fins. The NECAs, regardless if like they're the reissue or the original releases, have never been the best when it comes to the detail on the spines. They're always a bit more soft, although they have a bit more wash on here than they do here. Other than, again, this was their first go. Versus this one, where it has all the orange paint, and has all the works, and I hate saying this, is actually kind of more detailed than both of these two. Maybe beefing up the spines a little bit, although it's kind of too late to say that now. Rest in peace, NECA's line. But, I mean, for what we do have here, the detail's not bad. It's certainly got, like, especially on the back, you got a bit more of the simplistic detail versus... Oh, that's a battle damage in mine. I was feeling like a piece of plastic. It's just like, wait a minute, what is that? Versus here, where it's a lot more accurate to the movie and just has a lot more of that various color that you just see. And it honestly, again, just has a little bit more of the better execution as opposed to this, which is a bit more simplified, not as accurate. But again, it's has better detail on the fins. And next, let's talk about the tails, which again, the original has some mild wash. It's not like the most detailed, definitely has a bit more gloss. And again, looks totally fine. Looks very reptile. This one doesn't have as much gloss, still has a decent amount of gloss, but not as much as this one does. It is a tiny bit more of a shade of blue. It has a bit more of that dry brushing that's on the sides and the bottom of the tail, which moving you out of the way. Yeah, so it kind of just stops at the section, but there is some mild dry brushing versus here where there's surprisingly some sort of application here. So that's actually pretty surprising. Versus here where they have like a totally different kind of plastic. So it's not necessarily vinyl. Well, it's vinyl, I think. But it has kind of like the spray going on, but it stops right here. But is very much detailed. And you can kind of just see how well like the blue comes out. So as far as like the blue goes, it certainly helps it in this case. So when you really want to talk about it, I really don't think that anyone outright beats the other. In fact, I would even say like again, there's so much things that they do well against each other. As far as like the best overall, I'd honestly have to give it to him just because he's somewhat outdated, but he's also still very indated, if that makes any sense. He's still very much relevant as far as like the sculpt and paint goes because he's better than half the figures being released nowadays in Super 7. But as far as like this proves that they can improve, or they could have improved from him. In fact, my only real gripe is that the dry brushing stops like midway through the tail, and I feel like they could have like controlled the leg paint and the arm paint a little bit more when they were bleeding it onto the from the chest. And the seam lines are a bit of an eyesore. This one, not so much. Honestly, I think this 2014 from the Playmates line, it certainly has a really nice merit to it. I like it a lot. But overall, I just think like as far as like the color choices are concerned, this one's more cartoony and stylized. These ones are much more realistic or accurate to the source material that it's based on. So at the end of the day, who wins in this category is really up to you. Although if I had to crown a winner, it'd be him. Just because he improves on what always was already almost perfected, and he's got his own thing. He's stylistic. But as far as like the execution is, not quite there.